Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm doing a reaction on the QandA, the honey of the non-duality. Swami QandA. So he separated this for some odd reason, but it is an hour and 57 minutes long, so let's go ahead and get started.
Pranam Swami. My name is Tushar. I have a question around the subjectiveness of I-ness.
It's on.
Every experience in our consciousness is, in addition to the I amness, subjective to time and space, kala desha sapeksha. So isn't I amness as well sapeksha to something, like to nothing probably? So isn't that duality by itself?
I would like to try to answer this just to see how far I've come along in terms of what I know. But is he, in a sense, it sounds like he's asking, isn't our own interpretation of things subjective? So, because we are experiencing ourselves, I think that is subjective as well. I don't think I can really answer this one. If what I'm guessing is correct, I would say that everything we experience is subjective, but reality is not. Absolute reality is not. So how you feel, your feelings, anything that is experienced is subjective, for sure. But absolute reality is not subjective. Objective, this is the three things I say. Subjective reality is how we experience the world. Objective reality is how we grouply experience the world. This is a pen. Oh my gosh, you can't see it. Look at my white face. There we go. This is a pen. We can objectively see that. Now, there could be some people that say can't see it, they're blind, or people who don't quite see very well may say that looks like a stick. But objectively, it's a pen. We can see it's a pen. We can all use it as a pen. Subjectively, someone could say this is a stabbing device, or a ink holder, or a stick. Because it's on their own, it's not quite, because they can't see it or experience it quite correctly. And then there's the absolute reality, which is existence. Which is, it's kind of hard to explain how I would explain it. It's just, if it exists, therefore it is. If it exists, therefore it is existence. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but this is the best way I can put it at the moment.
Time and space also emerge in consciousness, in that I am. When I say I am, when the author is saying I am and I shine, basically means consciousness. You. The essential you, or the real you. But time and space also emerge there. The dream example shows that. So in our dreams, it's like a virtual reality. It is a virtual reality. So you can see this person is here and that person is there, so there's space. And I talked with this person for such and such, some amount of time. I get a feeling of time passing. So the psychological sense of time and space is there in our dreams too. Although it's nothing but what the mind projects by itself. In consciousness, time and space also appear in consciousness. Time, space, causation. I have told the story earlier. The Vedanta is being taught in an ashram there. It's actual fact. And the Swami was saying that you're all pervading. Yeah. And a monk at the back of the hall said, "Hey, wait a minute. I don't even pervade this hall. How can I be all pervading? I am here and you are there. I'm not all pervading. Neither are you. You are here, Swami. You are there, Swami, and I am back there. How can I be all pervading? How can you be all pervading?" But it's obviously from the perspective of the body. And the answer from the teacher was very striking. He said, but here and there, are they not both within you? You see, this is, it's not a difficult point, but it's a little subtle. Isn't it within our consciousness that the sense of there and the sense of here, both are in consciousness? What I simply mean is, they are experienced by you. Another way of putting it is this. We get this sense that, no, the world is outside and I am experiencing the world. I am in the world. And that's also a body-centric way of looking at it. Here I am, And clearly the world is outside my body. This is the limits of my body. Up to the tip of my fingers is the limits of my body. Just beyond that is other than my body. It's outside me. Whatever is in the body is inside me. But that's entirely body-centric. Switch to consciousness. Switch your perspective to consciousness. I am conscious of the body. I am conscious of the world. And the body is appearing in me, the consciousness. The world is equally appearing in me, the consciousness. The space in this world is equally appearing in me, the consciousness. The flow of time in this world is equally appearing in me, the consciousness. To make this easier, I can take another step. Mahakasha, Chittakasha, Chidakasha. Physical space, this vast universe. But in Vedanta, you have the concept of Chittakasha, the space of the mind. This is actually from Yoga Vasishta. Mental space. And then you have the concept of consciousness space. Consciousness space just means consciousness. So all of physical space is enfolded in and appearing in the space of the mind. And the mind space is appearing in consciousness space. So physical space, time is experienced in the mind, and the mind is experienced in consciousness. It's an inside-out way of looking. Now, why am I saying this? A clear objection to this would be that, look, you are just arguing from your perspective, but you are just part of this vast universe, and you experience it in your own mind. That's true. That doesn't mean the universe is in your mind. The universe, there's a clear edge between you and the universe. Here's the edge, but the edge is a physical edge. This body ends here, and beyond this body is not this body. But where does consciousness end? When you say the universe is outside consciousness, where does consciousness end, so that you can say inside consciousness and outside consciousness? Are you aware of an edge to consciousness? At this point, someone might ask a question. There is an edge. So, for example, I can see up to that, but I can't see beyond that building. So up to that building is the edge, and beyond that is beyond my consciousness. No, that's beyond your vision.
I was going to say, that's the argument I was going to make. It's the sheer fact that anything beyond what you can experience is outside your consciousness. And while yes, it is outside your vision, but you're not experiencing what's beyond your limitations of your five senses. I'm curious to hear what he has to say, because I was literally going to make that argument there.
It is within your consciousness as the seen, and beyond that the unseen. Both are in your consciousness.
Is it because? No, that wouldn't be the argument. I was going to say, because you've seen what's beyond your vision. Say, what's in the next room? You have four walls around you. You know you had to come in from the other room to this room. So the other room is already in your consciousness. Even though you can't visually see it, you have it because of your memory. I guess that is technically, it would be your memory recollecting it, and then it being in your consciousness. But then there are things outside that you've never experienced. I've never been to the moon. So that would kind of destroy my argument, in the sense, the fact that we can experience things beyond our five senses limitation, because we have I won't say the sixth thing, but the other thing, which is memory, that wherever we've been, even though we're not visually there, we're not physically there, let me say it that way, we're not physically there, we have that in our consciousness because of our memory, because we can remember that. But then again, I've never been I've never been to, let's say, England or Japan or Brazil. So those would say, well, I've never been there, I've never experienced it, it's not in my memory, so it's not in my consciousness.
It's literally true. It's a more accurate description than we have of the physical way of looking at things. It's a strange way of looking at it, but it's more accurate. It's accurate in what sense? Phenomenologically accurate to the way we experience life. This is a more accurate description of it. So if time and space appear in consciousness, then consciousness does not depend on time and space. Rather, time and space depends on consciousness. Just like time and space in the dream depends on the dreaming mind. In that sense.
One follow-up question on that.
Okay, before we do the follow-up, I wish you'd explain that a little bit more. How does everything in this universe is in our consciousness? That I don't quite understood that. I understand the fact that things we've experienced in the past, we can always recollect in our memory, therefore it is in our consciousness. Now, the room next to you, if you haven't been there in 20 years, I'm sure has changed. So that's kind of the exception in terms of what you've previously experienced, to assume that it'll be the same again. Because, you know, if you come from that room, then come over here, then 2 minutes later you go to that room, it's not going to change a lot. You know, you can reliably say that I know what that room looks like if I remember it. But yeah, I guess that's I wish you'd explain it a little bit more. To when they're saying it's really strange to make that point, I don't quite understand that one.
The I amness itself, isn't it context of nothingness?
Oh, so I am existence. Isn't it the opposite of dependent on nothing? But no, it's not dependent on nothing, because nothing is nothing. There's nothing for it to be dependent on. Nothing. There is this whole Nyaya. They have a whole investigation into nothing. The concept of abhava, absence. So in the Nyaya philosophy, absence is always dependent on something positive. They'll ask, absence of what and absence where? There's a clock. If I take it away, there's the absence of the clock. Where? Not everywhere in the universe, only on this table. The clock was on the table. Table is the location of the clock. Clock is the object. Now I remove the clock. You can clearly see the absence of the clock. Where? What is absent? Clock. Where is it absent? Table. So the absence, the negative, it always depends on the positive. The positive, however, does not depend on the negative. I remember I studied.
Real quick before it goes into, I'll rewind it. So it's kind of funny though when he said that. It's like they study the nothing. It's like, I was just thinking in my mind, it's like, wait, what? It's like, so what you're studying, son? I'm studying nothing. So you're not studying? No, I am studying. It's nothing. I am studying nothing. It's just really weird when you say it like that, but of course I don't quite completely understand Naya. I believe that's what he said. So it's just very weird, because again, the way I understand nothing is literally just there's nothing. And how do you study nothing? You can't study nothing because there's nothing to study. Literally, there's nothing to study, you know. So and plus, again, like I said, my mind works in terms of asking so many questions. So I only have one interpretation of nothing, which is just literally nothing.
I remember I studied this at length once. This is whole philosophy called Nyaya, and they have a further development called Navya Nyaya, neologic. And so a great Pandit came to Calcutta, and he was teaching us this 3 courses, basic, intermediate, and advanced. And the advanced course was for 15 days, 5 hours a day, 15 days, and the subject was nothing. Nothing. And he would start every day. So for 15 days, 5 hours a day, we talked about nothing, literally. And it's a very sophisticated way of talking about nothing. So subtle. I mean, a tremendous analysis of what is nothing.
I will say that's kind of confusing too. Now it says that's like, you know, sometimes in I guess the lingo when you talk to people, it's like when you ask someone, "Oh, what'd y'all talk about?" It's like, "Oh, we talked about nothing," and it's usually meaning that we didn't talk about anything significant. It's just we had just small talk, nothing really important. That's what when we never say, "Oh, we talked about nothing." It's not to say that we didn't talk about the word nothing, or we literally talked about the idea of nothing. It's just that there was nothing of importance that was talked about. That's what it usually means, at least where I'm from, or in America perhaps. Oh yeah, we talked about nothing, meaning there's just nothing important talked about. So that's what it kind of sounds like when saying, oh yeah, we talked about nothing. It's like, oh, so you did talk, it's just like nothing important. And then the next thing's like, oh, you talked about You really talked about nothing as an explanation of nothing. How does nothing work? And then my mind again thought about it, like, oh, you literally didn't talk at all because you didn't talk about anything at all. So there's dead silence. Those are the three things that my mind thought of when I was like, oh yeah, we talked about nothing. It's like, wait, which nothing are we talking about? Nothing important? Talked about the definition of nothing, the meaning of nothing, or you literally sat there and stayed quiet.
And he would start. He had a stock example which he would write painstakingly.
So
the Pandit would write on the blackboard. Bhutale ghato nasti. There is no pot on the surface. That means on the ground. And there's no pot on the ground, or there's no pot on the table. Just like the clock on the table. And then he would proceed to analyze this sentence. That's all we did for 15 days, 5 hours a day. I still remember this was in the Asiatic Society in Calcutta. Those who know Calcutta, they know it. The big hall. There was this caretaker of the hall, this gentleman who was supposed to, clean up stuff, open it and lock it and all. He would listen to us. And then one day he approached me. Because I was a monk, I thought he felt more comfortable approaching me. The rest were all philosophers. Or students, philosophy students. So he came to me and he said, if you really want a pot, I could get it. It's there in the market. You guys have been cribbing about it for the last whole week, and there's no pot going on and on about it. I could get one for you if you want. Yeah. So the absence of the pot depends on the pot, but the pot itself doesn't depend on its absence. Yeah. Amritat, then we'll go to you next.
Thank you for everything and nothing. So I am shines and experience. We experience everything because of the shining of the I am. And when we sleep, deep sleep, we experience that nothingness because we wake up and we're able to experience that there was something we call nothingness in sleep. When the body dies, or we die, when the body dies, the mind, right, or the consciousness, when the electricity is turned off, or whatever it is that keeps all this moving, how can we understand that consciousness does not also disappear and therefore couldn't be Brahman?
That's actually the next verse. Today we did
Sorry.
verses 2 and 3. Verse 1 of this book is just a salutation to Guru and God. Very beautiful verse. Verse 2 is what we did. I am, I shine, and I am the object of continuous maximum love. It's Ananda, Satchidananda. The second verse was the universe, the next third one was the universe appears in me like castles in the sky, the city of Gandharvas. The third verse considers the answer to Amitat's question. So you can see how, if you follow carefully the argument, the next question that pops up in your mind is the one he's going to answer.
Mm-hmm.
See, the question is this.
And that's the thing, too, is the fact that how do you know? And the sheer fact that consciousness is really interesting. It says the consciousness experience. It's very... I don't know if that's the right word or not. I know that's what they say, but I guess perhaps because experience is usually associated, perhaps not directly, but to memory. Because if you don't remember anything, did you really experience it? Someone has to remember something for you to know that you experienced something, right? I mean, if no one has any memory whatsoever, if you touch something, are you sure you touched it? You can ask everyone else. People say, I don't know. Did you touch it? I don't know. That's why I was asking you. Did I touch it? So how do you know for sure you touched it? You can say that right now. You say, oh, because you told me you touched it. Are you sure I touched it? I could have just said I touched it, but I don't know if I actually touched it. I hope you understand the argument. It's always associated with memory. At least from my argument, at least right now. Now you could definitely prove me wrong completely for sure, but that's what I'm hoping you could maybe answer that question. It's usually experience is usually associated with memory, I think, because without memory, is there really an experience? Oh God. Um, I was just thinking of a statement I made earlier in another chat. It's like reality. What is reality? If we don't have memory, did we really experience it? So it's very interesting because consciousness, as far as I understand, it's unaffected by your emotion, your memories, your thoughts, and well, just essentially everything in Maya. Your five senses is unaffected by it. All it does is just illuminates what you do, illuminates your thoughts and your memories. But without memory, are we really experiencing anything? You could say yes because we're seeing, but are we really seeing? If we have no reference to point out of what is sight, what is touch, what is feel, do we really know that we are experiencing? I don't know. It seems overly complicated of a question, but let me know if you can straighten me out with that one.
You may give me all fancy arguments as much as you like, but I don't feel like that. I don't feel I'm infinite existence. I don't feel that I'm infinite consciousness, and certainly I don't feel I'm the fount of all joy and bliss. Quite the opposite. I feel that I am going to die. But then didn't we say, so I feel that I'm going to die. I don't feel that I am a Brahman. So suppose this is the argument. No matter what argument you give, I don't feel that I am Brahman, so I can't be Brahman. The answer to that is twofold. First of all, feeling is not a proof. You may feel whatever you like. So, if you feel that you are Brahman, that's also not a proof that you are Brahman. You could just be high, It's I saw the news in New York City. They set up a dispenser for where you can have weed and stuff like that. It all got sold out within minutes. So you could feel your Brahman after smoking the Brahman pipe. That doesn't prove that you're Brahman. So that's one. Knowledge is what we are looking for, and knowledge comes from pramanas, the proof of knowledge, or some sources of knowledge. Feeling is not a source of knowledge. But still, is it possible to feel my knowledge and feeling to be in alignment? Yes, it is. We feel this way because we are solidly rooted in body consciousness. So from the perspective of the body, it's true. The body ages and dies. If you're literally the body, you're going to die. The question which comes in our mind is, it's all very fascinating, but I have this intuitive feeling when the body dies, I could just as well be gone. What's behind that feeling? Behind the feeling is, first of all, the practical experience of, you can argue that I have no experience of my own death, but I am experiencing the death of so many people. So many people I know are dead or dying. And so I'm quite clear, even Vedanta teaches me, all religions teach me, that death is final, that everybody is going to die. Whoever is born, Gita Krishna says, whoever is born is fated to die. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. But of course he follows up by saying, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And the certain is birth for those who are dead. Which means you really didn't die. What happened was the body died. So when we say we have experienced so many people dying, so it's reasonable to assume that I will die. What we have experienced is the death of the body. And that's what we have been arguing all along. You, the consciousness, are not literally the body. Even if the body dies, it could well be that I will be there to experience the death of the body. And I am not the body. Just as, and again I'm repeating from the Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, just as you experienced from babyhood to childhood, the body changed so much. From childhood to teenage, the body changed so much. From teenage to middle age to old age, the body changes dramatically. And yet you say, I am the same one. Similarly, one more dramatic change is coming, death of the body. And you will still say, I am the same one. When we understand clearly the difference between the body and I, the experiencing consciousness, then I will not think that the death of the body could be my death. Just as these are objects, they are acting and interacting with each other, I am the experiencer. So this body is also an object in my experience. If this body stops, dies, it's quite possible that I'll still continue to be conscious, I'll still be a conscious self, that I am, will continue, maybe in some other body. That's the whole idea of reincarnation. Now, the deeper question there, a philosophical question behind what Amartya asked is, somewhere we are convinced that I, the consciousness, am being generated by physical processes, by the brain, by the neurology and the brain. That's generating me. Clearly, at death, the brain dies. And the nervous system is dead. And therefore, consciousness won't be there anymore. So the dream example doesn't hold true, because one could argue, yes, you may not be aware of your body in the dreams and you still continue to be a conscious being in your dreams, but your body is still there. It's a living body and the brain is still functioning and generating the consciousness and your dream also. So the foundation for your consciousness is still there. But if you destroy the body, there will be no waking, dreaming, deep sleep, nothing. It's just gone, zero, finished. So this is called the materialist reductionist view of consciousness. And that's sort of mainstream idea. The only catch here, the hard problem of consciousness. Yeah. David Chalmers, who coined the term, the hard problem of consciousness, is right here in NYU. In fact, next week, I strongly recommend it. On Friday next week, they're going to have this conference at NYU. 25 years of consciousness studies. And so David Chalmers is there, Christoph Koch, and a number of other philosophers and scientists are there. So the hard problem of consciousness. First, prove that consciousness can be reduced to the brain. There is simply no proof at all. The answer to that is what is called promissory materialism. That give us time, we'll prove it. Consciousness is nothing but the brain, but 25, 30, 40, 50 years, and then we'll prove it. We are advancing. No, the hard problem of consciousness is a problem in principle. It's not a technical problem. It's not that when you have more technology, more advancement in neuroscience, and you will show that consciousness is generating from the brain. How can a physical process, an objective process, give rise to the subject? Let me put it in this. This can put it in different ways. Let me put it in this way. All of these things, material objects, they have only one nature, what they are, as it is. They are physical entities and they have properties. You can investigate them. They have only one thing, they have the physical side of it. Now you are saying there is one unique thing in the universe, your brain, which has two sides to it. One is the physical side, the matter, the cells, the neurons, and all of that is the physical side, the electrical activity, the physical side, and an internal subjective side. We are claiming that. Why should this particular organ have that?
Well, I'm kind of curious. I mean, I don't know, honestly, but if I were to have to answer that, I'd say, well, it's a bit of a unique organ that I guess it's a bit of a unique organ, but I guess it's not necessarily the only organ that allows the body to function to a certain degree. And what I mean by that is that there are animals out there without brains, and they're able to kind of function. But it's very rudimentary, I suppose, in terms of their functionality. So like jellyfish, I believe. Jellyfish. Yes, I believe jellyfish. I don't think they have a brain. But they still function in a sense that they interact. And it seems more reactive and instinctual, perhaps. Again, I am by no means a specialist in this at all. But that's my assumption. So again, I've seen some jellyfish, and it's amazing that a jellyfish could probably survive very long because it goes through its death and rebirth, kinda. I don't know if it technically dies, but it goes back to its, I think, infant, like in a sense, its baby stage, and it regrows back. But the body itself of the jellyfish is very simple, so it can do that. I don't know. I'm getting a little bit too far into that. But anyways, I don't know if a jellyfish can, say, do certain things. Like I think it just reacts to its surroundings. And don't get me wrong, animals with brains also react to its surroundings. But I think we also react to our surroundings. It's oversimplifying the human brain, but it's very much that we are kind of like that. As in, when we discover heat for the first time and it burns us, we won't do that again. We it's not like it's like, oh, I'm gonna touch it again. No, we tend to learn about these things and keep them in memory. Memory, I think Sadhguru talks about memory is one of the unique things that humans have. I don't think it's necessarily unique to humans anymore, because I think elephants can actually remember paths, because I believe the matriarch of the elephant family will always I believe it's the same path whenever they need to go find, when they do their travels. Forget what it is. During a certain seasons, the matriarch of the pack will lead the elephants to water. But it'll follow a very specific path. But it doesn't mean that they're stuck on that path. They can learn. And also, elephants do have empathy as well, and sadness when babies and stuff die. So, again, memory now no longer unique to humans. I think even emotions are no longer unique to humans anymore. But yes, the brain is a little bit of a unique organ that no other organ does. And because of the development of our brain, which I think is memory, that we're able to do certain things. Now, it's not to say that I answered his questions or disproved them or anything, but the brain itself is just something very, very unique of an organ itself. Yeah, I don't know how else to argue that.
You see the force of the argument. Why should only one entity in the entire universe have this dual nature, objective, and brain is clearly objective. It's a piece of living flesh, and when it dies, it will die. It will be dead organic matter. But that's what it only should be. Why should it have an internal? All of us here have an internal feeling. I am aware, and I am seeing and hearing. I am thinking. I am feeling. I have a sense of time and space, a personhood. Where is that coming from? Why does this not have it?
Oh, here's a good argument actually, perhaps for this. I believe there was a woman who talked to a chimp. I think it's a chimp or a gorilla, and I don't know if I can remember this. I'm mixing it up with the movie or not, but she gave the chimp, was raised in captivity, a glove that if you do a particular sign, it will speak. So the chimp can sign language, and the glove will interpret it and say it. Oh, I want to find that and put it up here. But let's watch it. But the thing is that I definitely got to look that up and put it on here. So this will kind of say that even, I don't know if it'll prove anything or not, but it's just the fact that we're not uniquely in terms of the subjective matter of what he's talking about here.
There is no answer. Literally no answer. How is tiny electrical activity in the brain generating mind and consciousness? Nobody knows. Ask the cutting-edge neuroscientists, philosophers of mind. Nobody knows. Another argument.
Real quick. Well, the thing is, though, again, I kind of have to fight back, or just make an argument for this. Back then, no one knew about germs and stuff. It was germ theory. And it took a long time for us to discover that. So again, I'm not saying that scientists, in 20 years they'll discover where the consciousness is. No, but we have to kind of give it enough time, because we don't know. Maybe enough time we'll discover it. Maybe with infinite number of times we'll never discover it. I don't know, but I'm always open, because there's many things in the past that said it will never be discovered. Scientists have always said, just give us enough. No, I won't say scientists always, because scientists didn't really technically exist back in the day. You know what I mean by science? Like, they generally went through a process trying to figure things out. We try to figure things out in the past, but not really good. But anyways, science is still relatively young. Would it ever figure it out? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But it is figuring out a lot of stuff.
Give a third argument and stop there. That to show that the brain is not generating consciousness. Is this. Nowadays, it's a unique argument. I don't know if I came up with it, but I haven't heard anybody else making it. It's that the recent advances in AI. So right now, you have things like ChatGPT and other advanced AI, which is going to get even more advanced. There's some computer scientists told me that they're looking for exponential growth of AI. Now they can do everything that we can do. This AI, it has intelligence. It has creativity. It can paint pictures, write stories. It's already doing that. I asked it to write poems on Swami Vivekananda. It did a better job than I could ever do. Not only that, I asked it to write another poem, and it did another great poem on Vivekananda. And if I ask it every time, every few seconds, it will generate a poem throughout the day and throughout the month. It will generate thousands of poems, and pretty good poems. And they may not be masterpieces, but they are better than anything, say, a school kid could come up with or a college kid. So creativity. They're already winning competitions in painting, in short story writing. First prize. And then they found it was not written by a human being, it's written by a machine, by a computer. Now, intelligence, creativity, which we thought was human. Now machines do it. Except one thing. Machines have intelligence, creativity, memory, decision-making capacities. They can drive a car, they can paint a picture, write a story. Except one thing. They can't do one thing. You know what that one thing is? They have no sense of I am. They have no sense of consciousness. There's nothing in there. Right there, in that head, there's a light burning. Lights are on there. You're not zombies. In a computer, there is no consciousness there. You say, how do you know? You're not a computer scientist. Yes, ask the computer scientist. Ask the experts. Have you programmed the AI for consciousness? They'll say, no. We don't even know what consciousness is. We don't know how to begin programming something for consciousness.
I guess the question would be, if I wonder if Swami here knows what is consciousness. But anyways.
We can program. See, my argument here is this. My argument is, actually, intelligence is a complex thing. It's difficult, complex. Creativity, very complex. To genuinely simulate creativity is very complex, difficult. And the computer scientists are now able to do these complex things in machines. In comparison to that, consciousness is very simple. What does consciousness do? There's only one thing.
Oh, here we go.
It gives you experience. It shines and gives you experience. All sorts of experiences, but all sorts of experiences depend on the objects. If there's a form, you have experience of seeing. If there's a sound, you have experience of hearing. If there's a thought, you have experience of thinking. But experience is what consciousness does. Simple, first-person experience. It should have been simple enough to program it. And yet it isn't. There is no grasp, even no traction on the problem. What is consciousness, let alone how do we program it into machines? The Vedantic conclusion tallies very well with the hard problem of consciousness. You cannot reduce consciousness to the brain. If you cannot, then you cannot claim that the brain generates consciousness. It definitely is connected with mind. There is a strong correlation. That's what Chalmers calls the easy problems of consciousness, the correlation between neuronal activity and a reported subjective experience. There's some kind of deep connection there, but you can't say connection means causality, that it's producing consciousness. This is where it's stuck, the whole consciousness studies field. It's the most important question in science today. I saw a list, the most important unsolved question in science. Second question was hard problem of consciousness. I think it's the first question. It should be the first question, most important. All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to have to pause it there. I'll say this. Of course, scientists is still, again, relatively young. Science is very young. And we have come a long way in terms of science. The limitation of science in the past, especially those who were discovering things, it was limitation of the technology. Now, we didn't have microscopes back in the day. Now we have much better microscopes today. And these technologies are improving and improving. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh yeah, we just give it 50 years and eventually we'll discover everything. I don't even know that. You could give us 500 million years and probably still discover nothing new, or nothing. But again, I'm just open to the, maybe we will, maybe we won't. I would say intelligence is not difficult. Creativity is not difficult. Because these things, creativity is subjective. So to say something is creative, like I guess a good example of that would be, I remember scrolling through the news. A video over with now, it's just me talking. I remember scrolling through the news, or this news web page, and I remember seeing a blank canvas, and he called it art. Very creative. So creativity, not hard. Trying to get people to buy creativity, no, that's a different story. Being creative is not really that hard. Being intelligent, for a computer, not that hard. being intelligent as a human being, quite difficult. And all intelligent is just memory. Computer can have infinite number of storage. As long as it has access to internet, it will be able to derive an answer from it. Intelligence is not that hard. Consciousness. Now, the biggest thing, I suppose, if we can explain it, we can perhaps mimic it or create it. So it depends on what you mean by consciousness. It's just the experience of life. Well, for me, it kind of got drawn up in my mind like this. Experience, what I see. A robot can see and notate everything, documenting everything to precise information, to where they can recollect things because of memory. Hear, robot can do that too. Smell, robot can smell better than a dog or whatever else, if you give it the proper equipment, of course. Touch, it can touch things and feel it and even analyze it, again, given the proper equipment. So a robot can experience with the 5 senses a lot better than a human, given the right equipment. So it can experience these things, record it flawlessly, so long as the memory doesn't go bad, and the hard drive doesn't go bad, or SSD. So if you're saying experience, the robot is experiencing it. Now, I think what I was thinking he might say is, not to act like a robot, I suppose. I don't know how to answer that. To act like a human. That's not the right way to put it, but to build. I think the better one would be what Sadhguru says, to live life. Because recording things, remembering things, analyzing things, yes, we do this as humans, but that's not life. So I think that might be the better statement. I think it's because experiencing is just memory recording. Life, that's a bit different, because life is a bit more difficult to define. I think life is more along the lines of that you may be looking at the world, but you're not analyzing it. You are enjoying it. A robot doesn't care whether it enjoys it or not, so it's not affected by emotion. And I don't know what else to put there that makes it a little bit different. So I think that's the biggest difference there. It's not experience necessarily. Robot can experience everything that we can, I think, but it just experiences it because it has a very analytical experience, where ours is both analytical and life. Because I don't know how to describe that. I don't know how to put that, because when we experience things, it's not necessarily just to get information from it, but it's also what else can we do with it, which a robot would roughly do the same thing, but it's very analytical. I suppose it's like, I can turn this pen into a dog by shape shifting and melting and all that, but it's very too robotic, analytic, whereas us will see this and say, I could twiddle it on my thumb or my fingers and, do the little thingy there. A robot would probably say, like, yeah, I could do that too, but why? And it's because, why I'm doing this, because it's so fun, so skillful and whatever. Whereas a robot said, I don't need to do that because it's pointless. That's, I think, where the difference is. Enjoyment in things that are not mundane, but the enjoyment of things that are not really enjoyable, I suppose. Food enjoyable. Sweet food, very enjoyable, terrible for you. A robot would say, I need some of the electricity. I just need enough, and that's it. Don't enjoy electricity. It just needs it to survive. Much like how we need food to survive. But we have sweets, which is what our body absolutely wants, but we do not need. So there I think is the difference. Is if you can get a robot to if you can get a robot to plug into that socket and says, it's okay. But if you plug into that socket, yes, That would be, I think that would be it right there. I think that would be it. To have a preference on the socket says the juice that comes out of that one is 10 times better than that one. Michelin star plug, I think maybe that. I don't think a robot, because of how the energy flows, unless it's just like a plug in there, it's like, oh, this is giving me about 90% efficiency. Plugs in there, 100% efficiency. That's logical. No, but to say that one just flows a little bit smoother. This one, not really. I like that one better. Now that, I think that would be life. That would be something a robot cannot do. If it's analytical, it's not life. Yes, I think I made a fairly decent argument, I guess. Let me know. Anyways, this is part 1 of this, because I know I talked way too much. Hopefully this will be only in 2 parts, but I don't know. With me talking so much, probably not. Anyways, that's the end of part 1. If you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sound down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.